Good afternoon, Internet, and all the Kubernauts that are here for the Cloud Native Coffee Hour. We have something very special in store for you today. We're going to kick it over to Makita. Take us away.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. It's your boys. It's the Devs Operative Gang. We are here for another excellent stream. Very excited. I don't know if it's something prepared special, but we actually have we have not necessarily a working session. We have more of a demo, and it's going to work, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, welcome back to the Cloud Native Coffee Hour. And today we are going to be talking about Terraform, as we have been for the last couple streams. We're going to be talking about Terraform. We are going to be talking about GKE. We are going to be talking about Rancher Server. I think that's all the topics. But it's going to cover a lot, and it's going to be awesome. You guys excited?
I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. I want to see it work.
Okay, so background. If you missed the last couple streams, we were exploring standing up our own cloud cluster. You know, historically, we've been using our 12-node Raspberry Pi cluster with K3s. It's been working great, but we are working on some internal apps that we're going to be working on throughout the year, and maybe in time we will drop some snippets on that. But we're standing up a production cluster, and because we have these apps, we also wanted to stand up, CI/CD deployment patterns and all sorts of things. So, we're actually trying to create what we usually create for our customers, and we started exploring how we wanted to do that. So, our customers, unfortunately, don't use Terraform, so I am very rusty, and I was digging back into that a couple streams ago. You guys got to see our first attempt, which was successful. And then the second stream last week, I think by the end of it, we got something working, because I was struggling. I worked on it for a few days, and I couldn't find a really good pattern that I wanted to follow, and I was struggling, and the guys helped me out. And I think by the end of that, I had some traction. And then since then, it's just done. I'm amazing, and praise me. So, what do you guys think of that? That's my pitch for the stream today, and I have talked for a bit, so I'll let you guys get some words in.
Yeah, I titled it the Victory Lap, because for the last 7 days, basically since that stream, it's been nothing but Makita telling me how amazing he is, and I said save it for the stream, and we'll just take the victory lap. And I think the what we figured out by the end of last stream, which was a struggle, and then you're like, oh, we got to create the VPC in the network, the subnet, and then what do you know? Everything's happy once it has a network to live within, and then it's been massive changes from there. So, Sam, I don't know if you have any thoughts on the journey, but God, it feels like it's been a year of talking about this.
Yeah. I mean, spent some time on it. It was fun getting people's help last week. That was great to see some collaboration there, some pair programming, as we say. But yeah, I'm excited to see the finished product.
I will preface, the deeper I go with Rancher, I'm probably going to change a little bit about how we're doing this. Just a little, just a tiny bit. Just basically the Terraform component. But I'll talk about that when we get there. So if you want to move us over to the screen share, we can get started.
There you go.
Okay. So, how to start this? So, let's start with the end product and work our way backwards. Here is Google Cloud Platform. Google. This is the Kubernetes engine clusters. So we have managed many Kubernetes clusters. We manage our own on-prem, and we also, for our clients, do a lot of manual cluster creation. We install all of the control plane ourselves and manage that. And for our own, for when we're standing up this actual production cluster, we're like, let's just do a managed cluster. Like, why are we wasting our time doing this when we can just rely on Google to do it for us? I mean, granted, you get a lot more control and you learn a lot and all that, but I mean, honestly, after doing it for so long, this is the way to go.
Yeah.
In my mind, at least, this is where I'm at right now. I'm gonna go with a managed cluster.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, the learning was amazing. I think you miss out on a lot of that. But if that's not your or, if that's something you don't care about, then do it. Just do this. The learning was amazing, and the ARM64 was just too much of a slowdown. Like, it really just kind of just wasn't great. So maybe we'll try again in like another year once everything's got up.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna shut down our Raspberry Pi cluster, but
no,
there's just there's a big difference in performance, compatibility, maturity when you just go with AMD 64, right?
Yep.
Is that what it is? That, as well as a managed cluster in a cloud like Google or Amazon, whatever, Azure.
Right. Just updated the
So,
internet
anyways,
too, so it'll be great. You can do all sorts of stuff here.
So we just we chose Google. I like Google the most personally. I know a lot of people love Azure lately. I use Azure too. Azure's great. I'm not a big fan of Amazon's. Maybe it's just because it's been around for so long and they're navigating their UI is just, I don't know. It gives me my OCD a lot of problems. Regardless, so here's our cluster. We have a GKE prod. It stood up with Terraform, and I took it through. I wanted to try out Terraform Cloud. So the next little page here I'll show you is Terraform Cloud, where I have two different workspaces. I have a GKE prod and a GKE dev. And my thinking when I named the workspaces this is that we could easily set up workspaces for Azure and Amazon as well, or DigitalOcean or Linode or whatever you want. And I wanted to know what the cluster's like purpose was. Is it development or is it a production cluster? And I wanted to know what cloud it was in. So GKE is the cloud basically, and dev is its purpose. Keeping it simple since we're not doing anything crazy. So that's that. I'm gonna stick in this space for now. So before I go to the rancher stuff, because that's a whole separate topic. After a lot of struggling, because like I said, it's been so long since I wrote Terraform, and I literally, it really felt like I was spinning it up from scratch. Like anything I'd done in the past, it was gone. Completely gone from my brain. So I had to start over. Yeah. This is what I ended up with. I went through several different tutorials, tried a whole bunch of different things, and learned a lot, and found out that it doesn't need very much to work. This 156, 57, 58 line document here is everything we needed to stand up a reasonable cluster. Okay? Now, I know there's probably a lot of things we could tweak and things like that, but this is what I'm starting with. I feel really good about it. Done some testing. It meets the criteria I'm looking for. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to walk through this document here real quick. So there is just a main.tf. Like I said, been a long time since I did Terraform. I know I could create a providers.tf and put the providers in there, and I'm sure there's other ways to lay this out, but I decided to go with a single file for now. So I have a main.tf. This is everything that runs. This top line here, data Google client config, is a useful little tool that will pull your credentials from the Google CLI if you have it installed. That, or it actually can look at an environment variable that hosts your JSON that has all of your credentials in it. So it's just like a little helper tool here that makes it a one-liner to get your authentication for Google Cloud. The provider, this is literally just calling out that we're going to be using the Kubernetes provider. I think it grabs the token and the cluster CA certs from this config up here. So that's just all dynamic. I don't really have a lot to say about this because I didn't have to do anything to it, so I just popped it in there. But I'm just reading it now, and I'm like, that's probably just. Okay, and then on to the actual effort here, and that's creating a VPC. So you don't have to have this. So at first, I didn't have it. I just created the cluster in the default network and the default subnet, but I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to keep it separate. So here we're creating a VPC. I'm giving it the name of whatever the cluster's named, VPC.
You zoom in a little bit.
Yes, I can. Thank you. Maybe.
Just Command plus. Or should it just be plus?
Control plus?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I was trying to scroll. Okay. Is that better?
Oh, yeah.
Creating a VPC. Giving it the cluster name, the project ID, and I don't want it to auto-create a subnet. Then I am creating my own subnet, giving it the cluster name dash subnet name, the project ID, the region that it's in, and the network, which I'm not sure how this works. I didn't really look into it. All I know is that when I tried to reference the network here by this variable, it doesn't work. But when I use this helper method, I guess, it references it properly.
Yeah, you're referencing the output of another module, and you're saying, I want, the what gets generated when it does var cluster name VPC. It then takes
that now
and injects it, and like it does some smart things too with like knowing like if it sees, oh, subnet needs the VPC name, so I should create the VPC before I create the subnet.
Thank you. I just learned something. I see it, though. I see it now. This is referencing this name, and then this name. Very cool. And an IP CIDR range for that subnet. And then on to the GKE module. It's just using the official Terraform Google Modules Kubernetes engine. Just give it a project ID, a name. We're trying to, because we're not going to be hosting any real traffic right now. We just want an environment to do rapid development in. I didn't want to have it be regional because that creates one node in each zone within the region. And, we're just trying to cut a little costs. Cut some costs. So I said, no, I don't want it to be regional. And then I give it a list of zones, which I give it a single zone because I only want one node. That's all I want. I just want one node to start. Give the network, subnet, give it the names of these things. These things are really weird, and I never took the time to read into them. I literally pass in an empty string here. And if I try to pass in a real string, it gets mad and says that it doesn't exist. And all of the tutorials and docs I've been reading show an empty string there, and I just was like, okay, well, it works. So that's one thing I do want to circle back around and figure out what these actually are, because I don't know. We're not going to create a service account. We're going to pass in the service account we created. We're going to use the latest Kubernetes version. We're going to use the rapid release channel, just because it is not, like we're not servicing a whole bunch of clients right now, and I want us to keep up to date. I turned on horizontal pod autoscaling, vertical pod autoscaling, and I'm removing the default node pool. I can't really say why it does this, but when you create the control plane, it seems that it creates a node pool by default. That node pool is not set to autoscaling by default. Most of the tutorials I saw create their own node pool. So when I was creating it, I didn't have this set, and it would actually have just this like rando node pool out there with no nodes in it. And it looked kind of ugly. So I found out that that there's this option, basically, long story short. So I set this to true, and it gets rid of that right when it boots up, and then it only has a single node pool, the one that you create. So it looks all clean and pretty. And then down here, we're going to create our node pool. We're going to give it a name. I just said cluster name node pool. We give it our machine type, minimum count, maximum count. I said min count is 1, max count is 100. Disk size. You give it the disk size. I'll circle back to that because I found some stuff out here. Disk type. This was important. We had to switch it to container D. I think actually that was the final piece of the puzzle that we figured out at the end of our stream last week. So by setting it to container D, with the version of Kubernetes now, they're getting rid of the Docker shim. And whatever we were trying to stand up, the code now requires it to be container D or it gets mad at you. So we figured that out, put that in there, so that fixed that. Auto repair and auto upgrade. If a node goes bad or goes down, it'll auto repair it for you. Also, when new versions of Kubernetes come out, it will auto upgrade for you as well, which is very cool. Passing the service count, preemptible false, and initial node count I have set to 1. Questions? Thoughts?
We have a new follower, Hoopster. Welcome to the stream. I know you would just like blaze through 58 lines of code. So, I mean, I like it. Imagine that you and I like working together. This is how I like to do stuff too. We have baseline business requirements, which is I need a cluster. I need it small. I need it flexible. And I don't really have anything else fancy yet. I don't need multi-zone. I don't need to spend money yet. But I'm gonna. And once we do those things, we'll tack those on. But starting from just a super simple base that does the thing, this is beautiful. And it's nice and clean. And you know what it's doing. So, I mean, there's no doubt of its behaviors. So, feels frickin' good. And I like it. Sam, I don't know what you...
I think...
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. It's pretty reusable. I know you'll probably show off the Terraform Cloud a little bit more too. But, you know, I've done some Terraform courses, and it's like, you know, now that we have our version of the GKE modules like figured out, we could even wrap this again and be like, well, this is a devs operative GKE, and like then all you need to do is pass in, you know, a name or whatever.
That's cool.
That seems good.
Yeah, with your comment about the business requirements, Dan, I think my biggest business requirement was just to have a very simple, low maintenance cluster, which is, you know, one, obviously we're using GKE, managed control plane. Don't have to worry about that. Two, you know, I don't know what we're going to put out there. I don't even know how big the things we're going to put out there are. The app we're making, it's going to have a front end. It's going to have some back end, maybe multiple back ends, obviously, microservice design, things like that. I don't know how much space we're going to need. So I want to try to I didn't want to have to mess around with the cluster if I didn't have to. So, you know, by creating a single node pool with a min count of 1 means that, hey, we have a single node cluster. We're going to keep the cost relatively low. Now, if all of a sudden, you know, we deploy a few apps out there, I don't have to go back in and remake the cluster to make it bigger, because I have it set to a max count of 100. It's going to auto scale, and I've already tested that functionality out. It works. We're actually running at 2 nodes right now just to have Nginx, Cert Manager, and Rancher Server installed.
Okay.
So those were my requirements. Is I just want to keep costs low, and I want it to be low maintenance and dynamically scaling. Okay. So that's the Terraform. Very simple. There's a variables.tf where you declare the variables.
This tripped us up for a minute too, didn't it?
It did. Yep. There's a autovar. So this, at least when you're using it locally, it will automatically use these variables for you, and outputs. And that's it. That's the whole thing. So it's like basically a single file in my mind. There's this one main file, and that's it. And it's only 55 whatever lines of code. Okay, so I got this working. I was running it manually, locally. Everything's looking good, and I'm like, all right, I am ready to create a work center. I'm ready to create a workflow around this code, make it work. And like I said, well, originally I was going to use GitHub Actions. I read some articles about using GitHub Actions to automate your Terraform workflow. I thought that sounded pretty cool. So that was my original intention. As I was digging into it, I came across Terraform Cloud, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try it. I've never used it before. I'm curious and interested, so let me give it a shot. So I did. I created an organization, Devs Operative, and I started just playing around with it. Actually, before I get here, do I have? Let's go back to how I set up the GitHub. So in GitHub, I pushed our code up. I created the repo, obviously. It looks just like local. I actually created 2 other branches. I created a branch for dev and a branch for prod. These branches represent the environments. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. I was actually even looking for alternatives. What does Terraform recommend? And this they had 3 recommendations for managing environments, and 2 out of the 3 used this method. So I just went with it. I'm very comfortable with this method. I used it for many years in many different places, and it works, especially if you don't bastardize it.
Question.
Go ahead.
What do we anticipate changing per environment, other than like the functionality and features? Is there anything that changes per environment?
No.
Okay. So it's not
Right.
like I'm trying to do some foreshadowing. Go ahead, Sam.
Right. I mean, like, you probably want to have it real similar, but maybe, some things are scaled down or smaller. But those are kind of more of the inputs, not necessarily the structure of the main TF, right?
So what I view as things that might change are, there's a whole buttload of settings for GKE, for one. We might want to turn different things on or off. You can pass in arguments to the API server if you want to flip switches here and there, obviously. And they have a whole bunch of other things like logging and monitoring that you can turn on and off, but you can do it within the Terraform module, for one. 2, we might be adding the Kubernetes provider for like kubectl, so we might pre-seed. We might use Terraform to pre-seed a couple of apps out there if we need to. Just little things. If we have to change the structure of the Terraform, this is the reason why you wanted a dev environment to be able to deploy to, right? That's why they exist.
Gotcha.
Yes, their other option was you just have one branch and you apply that branch to the different workspaces, right?
Right.
So it's a one-to-many rather than a many-to-many is what we have.
Right. And like the main things that we're going to want, like you kind of said, like as you're making changes, you need to go test that. Obviously you don't want to do that in prod, even though we don't, have any real consumers of our cluster yet, but obviously you'd want to do some changes, test it out in dev, even if that's like a short-lived type of thing.
Right.
Correct. And the other piece too is I wanted to try to make it as hands-off as possible. So I actually have the settings in Terraform Cloud to auto, if we merge a PR, so if we create a PR, you're going to get a plan created, a Terraform plan created for you, just from creating a PR against one of these branches. Now, if we actually approve the PR and merge it in, it's going to auto apply it. It's going to do a Terraform apply on merge. So now the entire workflow for making changes to these environments exists right here. Yeah. And there's an integration, so you get feedback on what's going on. So this little check mark here, this is pulling information from Terraform Cloud, and it's telling you the current status. So if it was running, this would actually be like the little waiting circle thing, and it tells you exactly what it's trying to do.
Love it.
So that was my approach. I'm willing to simplify it to just a main branch if you guys want, but then I think we would have to actually apply manually, because otherwise we'd also apply any changes to the Terraform directly to our production, and I don't think we want that.
No. Did it sound like I wanted a different method?
I guess I took it that way.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I was just asking a question.
I mean, there's a lot of ways you could go at it. And
yeah.
Multiple improvements. This is a good one.
Right. And you got at exactly what I think is an important conversation, one that I like to have, is, which is why I like having two branches for this, because no matter how you manage it, it's good to have a place that you can just break stuff, test out a new feature, and, be sure you're comfortable before promoting that to some place that you actually care about. And that, I think, is the purpose of our dev cluster. And if that dev cluster is just automated by it being attached to this dev branch, it's beautiful, because that's a low path of resistance for me to make changes and test stuff and be really, really confident about it. So I think it's sweet.
Okay, so has there been any questions in chat? Let me look at the chat. Nope, everyone's just chilling. Big chilling. So I'll just keep going. What I would like to get to is I want to do a little demo. And I'm actually going to have one of you guys do that, if you're willing or able. That being said, though, let me finish this demo here over to the Terraform Cloud. So the way I have it set up, I have two workspaces, a workspace for dev and a workspace for prod. They match. I mean, I guess the name doesn't match, but there's a reason for that. Regardless, so I have GKE dev, GKE prod. Click on one of those. I like this. I like it a lot, actually. I was very surprised. I like Terraform Cloud. They make it really easy. I can understand why people try to do it themselves with GitHub Actions and things like that. And I don't know if Terraform Cloud gives you a ton, other than it just puts everything you need and look for all in one place. And even things that you wouldn't get otherwise. So, I mean, these little metrics off the side, it's kind of cool. You wouldn't get that necessarily with GitHub Actions. You got your latest run and the results, what's changed with the plan. You get your outputs printed out right here. Really nice. You can see all the different runs you've done. It would show up similarly, I'm sure, in GitHub Actions. I just feel like they just put it all together in a really nice little package. But the real power here. So GKE prod is one of the workspaces. And then we have variables. And variables is where you set up the arguments you're going to pass into your Terraform. Now, as you guys saw, we have, I think, like 10 to 15 variables. And I would say 95% of them are the same between any cluster. Okay? Any cluster. So I created a variable set. Now, this exists at an organization level, and you can apply it to any workspace that you create, which makes it so you don't have to set up the individual variables in each workspace. It was really nice. So when I created dev, I just said, hey, use this variable set. It imported all of them, and then I just have to set a different cluster name, and that was it.
Yeah, VR Linux says HashiCorp has a really healthy mindset toward development and their modules. Not too little, but not over-engineered. Seems good. Seems like a good product, especially if you're trying to get into it, or if you just want a nice mainstream workflow. Here you go. Here you go. If you grow out of it, good for you. Hope if your business requirements grow out of it, good for you. It's great.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. They kind of won me over when I was trying to set it up. I knew nothing about it. I didn't even read really any docs. I just kind of, I was able to set it all up very naturally. So their user experience designer did a very good job. Kudos to the user experience team at HashiCorp.
Clicky. Worked first time. You love to see it.
So the variable set's awesome. All I have to do is change the cluster name to create a different cluster in the same project. I did have to override the disk size. I can talk about that later. And yeah, the other little piece that I can show is, they do have a bunch of settings here. They have run triggers built in, so if you wanted to have one workspace that builds the cluster, it can trigger another workspace to apply your apps if you wanted it to, or whatever. So you can actually have run triggers to consecutively trigger other Terraform based upon success or not.
We've got another chat. Zach from the Discord. I recognize, says the integration with Sentinel is also great for config validation across several teams.
Yes.
Go ahead. I have no idea. I've heard of Sentinel.
Well, I don't have anything to say other than they push Sentinel really hard.
Okay.
I see it all over the place, and I really want to see what it is. It's like called policy checking or something, I think. But it's an upgrade feature, and I didn't feel like upgrading right now because I'm still feeling it out, and I don't think we need to upgrade at this point. But I am very, very interested in Sentinel.
Policy is code. Gotcha.
So anyways, yeah, very excited about Sentinel. Very excited about Terraform Cloud. The version control feature over here is where you connect it to your GitHub or your Bitbucket or whatever have you. You can set the apply method. So right now it is set to auto apply. Run triggers, always run. Which branch do you want it to be watching? I have it watching the prod branch, right? And pull requests automatically create speculative plans for PRs. I have not tested that feature, and that's kind of what I wanted to demo if you guys were up for it. So I was 2 demos all in one. So I was kind of thinking what we could do is, if you notice in our Google Cloud Console, there is no dev cluster currently. I deleted it to save money. I mean, it's like $60 a month for one node. Kinda.
God, it seems like a lot. It seems like a lot for not doing anything.
I know. That's
I love
why
the
I was
pies.
like, I'm gonna delete it.
I know. Well, yeah, if it's not doing anything, get rid of it. Jeez, that's a lot of tacos.
It is, exactly. So anyways, I deleted that. So the demo's gonna be, we're gonna create a dev cluster. But the way I want to go about it is I would like one of you. Well,
Sam.
I'll just do it. Well, I'm on stream. No, actually, yeah, Sam. So this is what I was thinking. If you could create a PR or create a branch from main in the repo, and then create a PR into the dev branch. Even if this is just adding like a space at the end of the file is fine. And then once you create the PR, we're going to see what happens, because that's one thing I haven't tested yet, and I want to see what that does. Let me double check the settings though real quick. Make sure that I do have dev set up the same way.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I have.
I've played with it before too, and the manual approvals are actually kind of nice too, if you don't want just auto approve.
I had it set up to manual at first, but as I was testing it, I was like, I think it's ready. Because I really I like this idea of creating a PR, you get the plan, and if you approve the PR, boom, it's going to update whatever you have out there, and then you don't have to go. You don't have to go to Terraform Cloud, unless you want to.
Unless it fails.
And hopefully it fails on the plan. But obviously there's some things that can slip through.
Definitely.
You could even create this
posted the VR posted a really cool picture in the Discord of the Azure SIEM, which is security information and event management. I think that's what we're looking at. It's pretty freaking cool. Azure Sentinel. Makes a lot more sense seeing that. Appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing that. So go check out the Discord, everybody.
Wait, let me do it. I'm gonna.
I already did it. I'm way ahead.
Never done. I've never gotten the chance. This is one of those perfect chances to use the web browser file editor in GitHub.
Definitely. See, I'm a big fan of that. Just, I feel like the ops team. I've been 2 different ops teams groups that I've dealt with. Both hated it. Well, actually, no. One loved it, and the other one's hated it. I don't know. It seems like you can get people abusing it, but
yeah.
Did
you just say you should use the web?
Yeah,
I did. I mean, to add a space at the end of your file. I mean, why not?
That's fine as long as you change the frickin' default commit message from whatever.
Of course.
Because if I go into a repo and I see 30 commits in a row, all with that same default message,
Sam's triggered.
You all know who I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
I do. I do.
Yeah, if you use
I'm
it
not gonna
and
flame anyone on stream, though.
No, and put the correct commit message, just saying what you did. Nobody's the wiser that you did it in the dang browser. Zach's getting horrible flashbacks of people editing Helm charts in line through the web editor. Yes.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know if I would edit like YAML.
No, it'd have to be parameters or, pretty tight.
YAML's a little,
well,
spish.
Depending on what you're doing. Small moves.
All right, how's that PR coming? This is because you're trying to do it locally, isn't it?
I don't like doing this.
Let's leave him. Leave Sam alone. I like how one of us wears the green shirt every Wednesday.
I love that shirt. It fits so good.
That's cool.
Except, my one complaint about the KubeCon shirt. They did do the plastic stuff.
Yeah.
And mine's starting to like crack.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's not like a silk screen printing.
No.
Right. They cheaped out.
Darn free shirts. Ugh.
It's a good quality shirt, though. It's like, why did you got a nice shirt,
But you ruined it.
You ruined it.
Right.
I believe you can refresh, by the way. Let's do
Hey, one pull request. Okay, so there's a poll. There is a PR, and it has been opened up against Dev. Beautiful.
I don't like this.
Leave me alone. All right, let's see what happens over here. I don't know what I'm looking for. When it says it creates plans on PR.
Oh, is this the first PR we've ever done?
Yeah.
Roger.
Like I said, this is us just trying it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if it does it automatically, but I know I've seen some really cool workflows where it spits out the plan onto the PR as a comment. So it'll come up and it'll show like, hey, you tweaked this, so whatever, this changes, got rid of this, so it's red. And
yeah. Zach says, doesn't think it shows the speculative plan in the run view. Check GitHub. You think it'd show up like a little Jenkins status or something? Which maybe you should show how you hooked that up too, by the way. What's the successful check? What was the check?
Yeah, so if you go back to the PR.
Oh.
And then show all checks.
Oh.
I think this is what we were looking for.
It worked.
It didn't show up, but
it worked. Cool.
Right, and you can see we're adding a bunch of stuff, right? Because we're going into dev, which is currently non-existent.
Empty.
Yep.
Yeah.
So why couldn't we see it on that other page?
I don't know.
Go back to runs. It was right there. Wait, oh, it's not there.
Yeah.
Huh. It's legit ghosted here because they're speculative. Okay.
Huh.
We'll go with that.
That's still cool. Oh, yeah. See, this is the other place where they're pushing Sentinel. Sentinel mocks can be used for testing your Sentinel policies. Download Sentinel mocks. And I just kept seeing it. I'm like, sounds good. Let's do it.
Good marketing.
Cool. So the speculative plan works. Fantastic. That was a successful demo. Uh-oh. Did I close?
Right. It doesn't show full runs. Or it only shows full runs, not plans for the PR. That's fine. I mean, that could get really messy depending on what's going on. So this is more like the ops view of, hey, these are people actually touching environments or attempting to. So then you're not all
cool. Okay, so all the checks passed. Great. And why don't we merge it and see what happens? Create a dev environment real quick here.
How do you approve it first? Do you not approve it first? Is that just a Bitbucket thing and I'm just dumb? Do you have to like assign yourself and then approve it? Is that what it is? Assignees and no one assign yourself? You know what I mean?
No reviewers.
And the difference between reviewers and assignees, I don't want to get us off track, but it just bugs me.
It is a little different. It
it's
feels
just different.
bad after using Bitbucket for so long.
Yeah.
Oh,
you have to do assignees.
I think you have to turn this on.
Oh, do you?
I think you have to turn approvals on. I wanted to, but I couldn't because at the time we weren't a pro, but we are pro now, and I just never went back and turned that on.
Beautiful.
Or a team or whatever. We're paying for GitHub now. I just never went and did it.
VR says he would add that Sentinel is mostly free, but when you add storage, that's when the cost is going to skyrocket. They always get you.
Okay. We'll have to. That will be one of the next things I look at. Anyways, long story short, we will. I'll turn that shit on later. But we're gonna merge this and see the demo. Here we go.
Do it.
Merge pull request. Confirm merge. All right, it's been merged. Doesn't look like anything shows up here because it's a PR, and that's fine. But if we go back to code, okay. Let me see if I click on. I don't like this. Okay, so I'm on the dev branch, and you can see there is a yellow dot now instead of a green check mark. And if I click it, you can see it's pending. GKE dev pending. And you could click details, or we can just come over to the tab.
There it is.
And see what's going on. It is planning currently. So we can say see details. Brings us over to the run. The plan is finished. The apply has been queued. And the apply is now running. Didn't have to touch anything. So
It's a nice victory lap.
now we are... Right? Now we're creating the GKE dev, and I don't know if it'll show up right away. I don't think it will. It's going to take a hot minute to... yeah. It's going to take a hot minute. So while we're waiting on that, should we move to the next topic?
Yeah.
Or do we save the next topic for another stream?
What's the next?
What's the next topic?
Well, I didn't just stop at this. I have Rancher server running.
Right.
And I branded it.
Beautiful.
I feel like this is a separate topic. I could probably talk about this for another hour.
Yeah, I mean, my brain's pretty good. But this definitely feels
We'll talk
like...
about this
Yeah.
next time. Because I want to go through all the features of this. So let me do a pitch. A pitch for next stream here real quick. I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about it the way that I explored it. I wanted to know, what can it do? You know, it says it can do a lot of things. I want to know, what can it do? How can it do it? And what are the best ways to go about it? And VR, I know that you use Rancher a lot, so I would love to hear your thoughts on this. But that'll be next stream. So hold them. But so some examples are, I went through this and I used its cluster creation function. So you can create a cluster. So you can click these and you can create a cluster. It works, which is awesome. Very, very cool. There's that. I tried creating an RKE cluster using Google Cloud. That works too. You can also create templates, which is like saying, hey, somebody or users in this RBAC group can only create these templates, blah, blah, blah. And it was cool. And I created these clusters. I'm like, but, if I was to roll this out at, one of our clients, they have so many clusters and they're all creating them dynamically. And in a big situation like that, you kind of want it to be IAC, infrastructure as code. And in this case, it's a lot of clicky. So I'm like, probably the ideal is you still using Terraform, but doing something more along the lines of importing an existing cluster, which you can also do. So that's my sneak peek. That's my demo of, not demo, but that's my sneak peek at what we'll talk about next time. But we'll actually create a cluster, go through that workflow. We'll import an existing cluster. We'll go through that workflow. And then we'll talk about, actually, Rancher has an entire set of Terraform modules that create clusters in GKE and AKS and all those things. So maybe that's, in my mind, that's kind of where it starts going. They even, in Rancher's documentation, recommend using Terraform. So I think maybe the end game for Rancher server is you kind of have your own Terraform work center utilizing the Rancher Terraform modules, and you have the centralized server and everything's automated and beautiful, but you still have your dashboard and blah, blah, blah.
That's awesome. Because that's the question I had, was like, yes, you can go in and clicky and it's super easy and super great, but that sounds wrong. So I'm glad to hear that they thought of that.
Yeah. And VR says there's APIs. He's pretty hyped, so.
Cool.
Yep, that seems
that's a good point.
Good. But you got to start with a clicky. I mean, this is how you explore. This is how I explore. So.
This is not how you should run production.
No, probably not. If you want to be efficient.
Let's see how we're doing. Boom, there it is. So the control plane looks like it's there. I feel like whenever the control plane finishes, it shows up in the GUI here. But the node pool. Node pool takes like 10 minutes to come up, which is why I'm kind of filling that gap of time. So yeah, so what do you guys think? I've been talking and talking and talking. I would love to hear what you guys think. And please, you can be constructive as well.
This sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I think it's great. I like it way better than running it out of my basement. And that's good.
Oh, there you go. I can see this, definitely being a production version of what we've been doing. But the basement is great for prototyping, testing stuff out, learning how to run stuff on ARM. It's been fun. But if we're gonna have a production level product, then I feel better with this.
Yeah.
And to Makita's point, part of his goal of doing it this way is just ease of use for us to make changes and ease of use to maintain it. So all those auto upgrades and stuff. One thing that you mentioned and we never went back to was the disk size. Do you want to elaborate on the disk size? That's a cool story.
Sure, definitely. So let's come over here. I need to add that to my profile. I just am super lazy and haven't done it yet. Okay, so this is the cluster. This is the prod cluster, and this is a great story. So I got it running, and it was working, and I'm like, awesome. And I think I already set up the Terraform Cloud and all that stuff. Everything I've shown you up to this point was working. And I was very happy, and I needed to. So the next step in my head was like, I think I want to set up Argo CD to start putting all of the apps I need out here for me. So I'd like to create, an initial seed with Argo CD, GitOps, all that stuff. And I don't know. I was tired, and I just wanted to get it working. I really wanted to look at Rancher. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it manually. So that's basically what I did. I installed Nginx. Went perfectly. And then I was starting to look at the Rancher docs, because that was my goal. And it requires Cert Manager. So I was like, okay, I'll install Cert Manager real quick. So I installed Cert Manager, no problem. Went out there, and everything was looking good. And I think at the point I installed Cert Manager, all of a sudden things started rescheduling. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And then I noticed, oh my God, it auto-scaled. I have 2 nodes. And I got super excited. Because I know I'm being told that it's going to work, but just actually seeing it working is like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'm just nerding out over it. And so all I did was install Nginx and Cert Manager, and it added another node. So at that point, I'm like, oh, maybe our nodes are too small. And I think I increased our node size too. But regardless, because I think we were doing 2 and 4. So 2 CPU and 4 RAM. Since then, I think I went up to 4 CPU and 8 RAM. Regardless, it created a second node. And then I went to install Rancher. And Rancher is one of those big brain Helm chart operators that also do Helm chart things. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but so you install just Rancher, and then Rancher installs a whole bunch of CRDs, right? And then so one of those CRDs is a Helm CRD that all of a sudden, all of these jobs start kicking off, short run jobs that install Helm charts.
It's kind of like Rook. Oh, it installs more charts.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, but it never got that far. It would install the first thing, and then all of a sudden crash. And I'm looking at the logs, and I'm not seeing why. But if I looked at the node, it kept saying it had disk pressure. And it was running out of ephemeral storage. And I'm just like, oh, crap. You know, like, I don't know why. I was late. I was tired, and it took me a little bit to, like, connect the let me bring us back to this. It took me longer than I would have liked to connect this variable, disk size GB, to the ephemeral storage available on the node. I don't know why. I was just tired. And anyways, after like probably like 15 minutes or so, I was like, because I only had the set to like 10 gigabytes, which was probably pretty small. But I think when I was doing it, I thought it was like just like the storage that was going to be available to apps. And I'm like, our apps aren't going to use anything really. So no big deal. I did not. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, long story short, I upgraded it to like 100 or 50 or something, and that gave it enough local ephemeral storage to be able to actually unpack all of these containers and actually run the Helm charts and all that stuff on the node.
VR saying 10 gig. Holy, because that's where, I mean, that is really interesting. Don't beat yourself up over learning, but going beyond that, it's like, okay, Helm charts aren't that big. Like, what is running? Does it need 10 gig to run the containers? Like, is that
pull down the container images? Yeah.
Okay, so it's the container images, right?
And anything they do, yeah.
Okay. Damn, I thought you got that for free. Dang it. Okay. He says Rancher should at least have 60. Dang. 60.
This dev cluster is being created with 10, by the way, because that's what's in the variable set.
Perfect.
But something to fix, and I don't plan on leaving this out there. But long story short, that's the story of I don't know, of my weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was just cool that you were able to be like, oh, you know, update the size. Okay, now update the storage.
Yeah.
And you didn't touch any of the apps. You didn't do anything. You just had more, and it just worked.
Oh, what else? Okay, I did one other thing that I was impressed by. And I don't like telling these stories because I like to kind of be portrayed as like the Kubernetes like savant, but I have not done a lot.
Your credibility goes up like a lot with me if you are honest with me about not being a savant.
Regardless, I haven't done a lot in the cloud, and I don't know. I just had like this like moment of like you know these concepts, but we do everything kind of manually for a lot of our clients. Not by our choice, mind you, not by our choice, but I haven't gotten the opportunity to do a lot of stuff in the public cloud, and so when I changed the Terraform, I think I changed the size of the nodes. Like I said, I initially did 2 CPU and 4 RAM, and I'm like, I'm gonna boost it to 4 and 8. And I'm like, well, I know for sure it's gonna destroy this cluster. It has to, right, to recreate. But I wanted to see what was gonna happen if I just used my work center. I didn't manually destroy it or anything, because while I was working on the Terraform, in between runs, I would destroy manually and then reapply. And I wanted to see, like, what happens if I just apply with a change this drastic? This drastic meaning just changing a variable. But regardless, sure enough, it said it was going to destroy the node pool, but it did not say it was going to destroy the primary, which is, you know, the control plane that is given to us, right? Hosted or whatever. And it was so cool. It ran automatically, like we're doing right now, and it destroyed the node pool. And I think I went and got some food or something. I came back, and I'm like, guarantee all the manual things I installed, Nginx, Cert Manager, Rancher, are going to be gone. I don't know why. It's just that was the state of my mind, and I'm like, I'm not going to redo this tonight. I log in with K9's here, and it's all still there. And all of a sudden, all these like things went off in my head. I'm like, oh my god, if the control plane didn't go down and it's hosted, that means etcd never went down. Etcd maintains the state, so the second that the nodes were available again in the cluster, the scheduler kicked off to make sure that all the stuff matched the state that's in etcd, and boom, I'm back up and running. And I'm just like, oh my god, it's like all the things I read are true.
Feels good, man. That's a great story. Bad habits, then you're surprised when you don't have those anymore. That's good.
Well, the reason why I just never think about it is because, the stuff we spend our days on,
I know.
The entire control plane, etcd, and the workers are all a part of one big bash script.
It's a fire sale.
I'm pulling the layers back on what we deal with. And so in order to rebuild a cluster, if we're going to make a change, it's going to rebuild all of it. So you lose all your state. So you basically have to have an entire mechanism to reapply all the pods and all the things. But in this world, if the control plane never goes down, if etcd is always there or backed up or whatever, it's a different ball game. And I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling strong, boys. Let's go.
So you like Kubernetes still? That's what you're saying. Good.
I do. I got that little joyful feeling again. I'll tell you.
I feel it too. I do.
Hey, the apply is done. Oh, the apply is done. We have 1 node, 2 CPU. Looks beautiful and gorgeous.
Why does our prod one have the red button on there? What's up with that?
It's because I believe one of the Helm charts I installed is using a deprecated package.
Wow. Noted.
I know, like Ingress
nice.
Beta 2 V2 or whatever.
That's nice. Okay.
I've seen that in our Pi cluster too, so it happens.
And the thing is, like, I use just like I use the latest Helm charts for Nginx, Cert Manager, and Rancher. So one of them is just not updated.
Yeah.
Regardless, so, I have Rancher going here. And this was some of the changes I wanted to add to our Terraform. And this is what led me down that whole path. And that's, I think any cluster we create, we'd want to auto-register with our Rancher server. We don't want to have to do any manual clicky click, right, to get it in here. So a part of this Rancher server is that you can have auth run from here for all your clusters, which is really, really nice. I think that's a big convenience feature. But because I don't have it added, and we're not going to talk about Rancher right now, I am going to manually grab it. G-Cloud. And I'm just going to... Oh, actually, it's right here. Beautiful. We are going to try this and put dev in there. See how I'm using Vim, Dan? Did you see that?
I love it. Keep going. I will not go off and tell you about how much Vim I've been using. It's been great.
Well, actually, I'm going to stop here just for a second. If you look at my terminal, fish here, do you see the N all the way to the left?
Yeah.
That means I'm in normal mode. If I hit I, I'm in insert mode on the command line. So if I hit escape and I'm in normal mode, I can hit 0 and go to the beginning of my line. And then I can go forward by word, just like in normal Vim. Makes editing your command line really quick.
That is nice. I think mine's like that, but mine defaults to insert.
It does.
Okay.
It always defaults to insert. So you just have to hit escape, and then you're in normal mode, and you can navigate.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I just fetched GKE dev. We're going to go back into K9s here. And there we are. We're in GKE dev. Look at the nodes. There is my single node. I can describe it here. Terminal storage, 13 gigabytes. They gave us 3 gigabytes for free.
It's for the kubelet.
Anyways, that is basically it. That is the demo.
Beautiful.
And just to finish it off, to save us money, I come over here to GKE Dev Workspace. I hit Settings. I say Destruction and Delete. This took me a hot minute to find. I want to do a manual destroy. I'm going to queue the destroy plan. Type the name of the workspace. All right. Does the destroy plan, and then I'll manually apply it, and it'll save us like $1.
Or 60 a month or whatever. And we got to hook up those alerts so that when something just goes and pops off and auto scales at 100 nodes, we don't like. I'll send you that bill.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. It's just, you get little pockets of time to do stuff like this. And I had one recently, so I feel like I accomplished a lot, and I feel really, really good. So, plan is finished. I think it's auto-applying. It is. Perfect. So, there it goes. Oh, man. All right, I'm exhausted. I need some, water. I'm out.
Let's see. We've got a couple new followers, too, that were within the last week, so we can, do that stuff. Remediated. Makes sense. Checks out. I like it. And, Pyong. Let's go. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for the follow. They're not here today. We'll catch them up. Okay. I'll take us back. It was great, dude. I mean, this is what we were talking about. I think why it's so exciting is because we thought it was going to be way harder. Or at least when I was hearing from you over the weekend, it was like, okay, this is great. I'm totally down. I'm just I have such a hard time matching your energy because we got so far so quickly, and it's like I don't even know, how to communicate how happy I am that we've got a working work center, and it's really nice, and you were able to share that with us, and that's one of the reasons why I think this was a great stream. Because it's the victory lap, and God, it feels good. It feels good to have some working stuff. Because learning's hard. It's painful. So, thanks for doing that. Thanks for sharing.
Of course. And next stream, we will continue the conversation with Rancher.
Sounds good.
VR, you better be there. Clear your schedule. We need your expertise.
I know. I think maybe we'll just pull him in. Pull in special guest. He and VR did share his Rancher cluster in the chat for those of you following the chat. Good luck trying to get into that. And Sam, I noticed your background is different too. How did your move go?
Pretty good. It wasn't a heat wave yet, so that was nice.
And this is true. You didn't have air conditioning before this house.
Very true. I do have air conditioning now, which is awesome.
Until you see your electricity bill.
Let's go. Now he'll only know an electricity bill of this high at this house. Well, glad to see you made it. And everyone shall notice I am in my underground bunker, also hiding from the heat. And I like it. And Makita, your background looks amazing per usual. What a nice day out today. Just don't go outside because it's
you notice the new addition to my background?
The plant?
No, not the plant.
The fan.
The guitar.
Oh,
the guitar. Very nice.
It's cut out from mine. I did notice when I visited the other day, but we didn't have time to talk about it.
You didn't say anything.
I know, because if I did, I would have picked it up and played it, and you wouldn't like that at that time. So
Would have been fine.
I do like it though. Well done.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, another wonderful stream, and we are, I guess, some updates internally. We are trying to be. I don't know. I think I've communicated this before. Sometimes it's hard for us to do these streams because we're busy. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We're running a business. The business is growing, which is great, but we also work, all day. So we got together as a team and we brainstormed on how we can do better with this type of content. So we have some plans. We're gonna get back on the YouTube train. We are kind of scaling. We are scaling our ability to do post-processing and create thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. So you'll start seeing our streams up on YouTube again soon. And we are we have more people on our team now that are willing to do streams. So we're probably gonna have some other streams. We're gonna start doing a lot more app development streams because a big part of our team are developers. So they're gonna probably do some more content on like Java or Go or like event patterns and stuff like that. So look forward to that content too soon. And with that,
Very good.
I think we will sign off and see you maybe before next Wednesday. Honestly, we might have another little stream before next Wednesday. We'll see. So have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the Cloud Native Coffee Hour, and talk to you soon.